Om Shanti. SpARC audiobook titled The Source of Creative Energy. Introduction. From times immemorial, man has continued his search for the ultimate creative source of all what he has been coming in contact with in his physical environments. This innate urge also kept him on the move all the time, so that he reached the top of the loftiest mountain, fathomed the depth of the deepest ocean, wandered to the source of the most meandering river, and rocketed through the interplanetary space and landed on the moon. While persisting in the pursuit of knowledge about the visible world, man always kept keen interest in the acquisition of knowledge even about what cannot be seen with naked eyes. In some inaccessible domain, man peered through with the help of instrumental aids, which extended his seeing capability beyond the visible. But his biggest challenge has been in the realm of the mind, which is the nucleus of his creative intelligence, power of judgment, and his creation, and is one of the faculties of indestructible and immortal soul. At the outset, it must be made clear that the word mind is quite distinct and separate from the body, which is commonly known as the brain. As long as the soul is in the body, its metabolic processes go on according to well-defined and fairly well-understood laws. The mind retains its association with the brain and keeps it alive and alert. The sense organs transfer the external information to the mind through the brain, and the body is said to possess consciousness. In the event of the soul leaving the body, it becomes a dead mass of matter, and its individual components decay and disintegrate and get mixed up with the elements of air, earth, and water after burial or cremation, as the case may be. Obviously, there must be some kind of invisible vital force or energy which maintains all body functions, sustains the life mechanism, and is the focus of consciousness and creativity. Next topic: Soul as the source of creative energy in the body. This focus of consciousness and creativity in spiritual terminology is called Atma, or the soul. Its existence has been known to the sages and savants of the East for centuries. The real anatomy of the Atma deluded mankind all the time. It was only recently that the incorporeal Godfather, or the Paramatma, or the Supreme Soul, revealed himself through his corporeal medium Prajapita Brahma. It then became known in clear terms that the souls, or the Atma, is a consistent point of light and might, with mind, intellect, and latencies, that is sanskars, as three of its principal faculties, much in the same way as organs of the body such as brain, heart, lungs, hands, feet, eye, ears are the organs of the body and give it faculties of thinking, blood circulation, breathing, doing things, walking, seeing, and hearing. The real doer is the Atma, that is soul, and the body organs obey its dictates. In other words, body organs take the orders from the soul for their respective functioning. During the living existence of the body, the conscious soul resides at the midpoint between the two eyebrows. Each soul has its preordained role to play in this drama of life, and this role remains merged in the form of latencies, that is sanskars. On the basis of sanskars, thoughts emerge in the mind, and the intellect decides whether to translate or not to translate any or every thought into action. Our actions in this physical field produce reactions in our environments, and some get neutralized, while others produce further reactions which get merged to merge later in some other forms. Thus, this triangle of thought, action, and latencies is really an endless circle, and is the causative process behind the cycle of human life and human existence on this planet. It may be mentioned here that for a long time the mind was considered as part of the body. This led to the identification of the mind with the brain and also gave a distorted picture of the soul, quite different from the one mentioned in previous paragraph. It gave rise to the belief that the soul is free from all the responsibilities arising out of the actions performed by the body. The real doer was thus relegated to the background, and the body began to be considered as the doer and thus responsible for the fruits of his own actions. The anatomy of the souls as revealed by the Supreme Soul gives the most rational and clear insight into various life processes and also explains in clear terms the functioning of the center of creative energy in the body and its relationship with the source of creative energy, which is obviously the Supreme Soul. He is also the seed of the genealogical tree of the human family. Next topic: Supreme Soul as the source of creative energy for the entire universe. As the soul, so the Supreme Soul is also a point of light and might with mind, intellect, and latencies as its three important faculties. The sanskars, that is latencies, of the Supreme Soul are very different from those of the human souls. He is beyond birth and death because he never takes a body which is destructible and leads to bondages of the physical world. His own sanskar is that he conveys his divine message and reveals himself when humanity reaches the end of the cycle in this drama of life. The Supreme Soul reveals the correct nature of the soul and himself and shows the path of liberation from body bondages so that the creative energy and creative consciousness of the soul can attain its original state of purity and perfection and thus enable souls to undertake their journey to the supreme abode and return back on this physical stage to play their role in the new world of peace, purity and prosperity at the start of the next kalpa, described poetically as the Golden Age and spiritually as the Kingdom of God on earth, where all human beings are gods and goddesses and lead a viceless existence in ever healthy, ever happy, and ever wealthy state. In the new world, there is no environmental disorder, and in scientific terminology, it may be called the world of least entropy. In this new age, man's consciousness is of the highest order and creativity reaches its highest watermark. The Supreme Soul is the fountainhead of consciousness and the source of the entire creative energy of the universe. The love-born remembrance of the Supreme Soul in the soul consciousness state when the mind is withdrawn from the external is the link which establishes communion with Him. The daily rehearsal of this unadulterated remembrance for the maximum period of time finally liberates the sense-enslaved consciousness and enables the soul to relish the subjective experience of perfect orderliness, restful alertness, and perfect peacefulness. The soul then draws tremendous creative energy from the limitless ocean of consciousness, creativity, and enlightenment. Next topic: Matter, Energy, and Consciousness. Modern science has made quite a few breakthroughs in various branches of human knowledge and opened up many new frontiers for further exploration. One such most important and significant contribution of this century has been Einstein's concept of the equivalence of matter and energy, which is relevant to the subject of this article. According to this, energy and matter are interchangeable and their equivalence can be expressed by the following equation: E equals mc square, where E is the energy, m is the mass of matter and c is the velocity of light. It therefore appears that what is considered as dead mass of matter can be transformed into tremendous amount of energy. This was demonstrated in the first atomic explosion and lead to further improvements in the conversion of higher and higher percentages of matter into energy. If this type of development and research is taken to its logical conclusion, the day is not far when consciousness will also be related to energy in terms of measurable parameters. But as consciousness has its moorings in the mind, the demonstration of interconvertibility of consciousness and energy will have to come through the disciplining of the mind. It is to be hoped that a dedicated community of working scientists and research workers will emerge in not too far distant future who will join the ranks of spiritual yogis and explore the tremendous possibilities of harnessing consciousness and obtain a new form of energy and utilize it for the benefit of mankind for the establishment of a new world order where the health and well-being of the mind and spirit would be at its best alongside the health of the body. This is not an idealistic vision but a practical possibility for which a very large number of yogis and yoginis are working relentlessly in India and abroad. This development of pure consciousness or the establishment of creativity become possible the more the soul remains in union with the Supreme Soul through this process of meditation, which has been described as the love-born remembrance of the Creator in the soul's conscious state. This connection of the mind with the Supreme Soul in a state of perfect celibacy gives enormous creative power to the human soul, for in this linkage it begins to draw tremendous creative energy from the Supreme Creator Himself. It is difficult to measure in terms of physical units the amount of creative energy thus drawn when the soul is tuned to the Supreme Soul, but it may perhaps also be expressed in the form of an equation to just draw a scientific parallel. Let EC be the creative energy drawn by the souls, M denotes the duration or intensity of meditation, and C is the extent of perfect celibacy. Thus, the creative energy equation may be somewhat as EC equals M into C squared. It would be better to elaborate the meaning of celibacy stated here. Here, it is not the celibacy of the body alone, generally known as abstinence from sex, but is a much more comprehensive term, which not only means absence of all vices, namely sex, anger, attachment, greed, and ego, but denotes the state of liberation of the mind in which there is no thought of the mind, in which there is no thought bodily relationship, and the mind is not affected by all one sees, hears, and observes around him. The mind is then emotionless with respect to environmental changes. The soul with such a mental state is capable of changing the environments as it likes and mold events as it wishes instead of environments and events having any effect on it. In other words, the soul attains the state of least entropy in the midst of highest environmental disorder. The consciousness, the creativity, the enlightenment, the psychological orderliness, the neurophysiological refinement reaches their highest level of development when the mind is thus tuned to the infinite. The mental celibacy attains its purest form. It comes through constant practice of divine virtues of introvertness, peacefulness, cheerfulness, single-purposeness, soft-spokenness, tolerance, forbearance, compassion, and love. All these virtues also come automatically by vigorous reorientation of the mind towards the Supreme Soul, the source of the creative energy itself. One has not to renounce his or her heart and home, nor shun any of the worldly responsibilities, but doing everything the mind is to be yoked into the sweet remembrance of the Creator. Then all the doings attain perfection and the individual becomes a fully integrated personality. There is no limit to this perfection, and different souls differ in their degree of this attainment according to and in proportion with the effort put in this direction. Next topic, the form of the ultimate source of creative energy. Physical energy is manifested in different forms such as heat, light, electricity, etc. It is also known that these energies can be transformed from one to the other. We have also seen that there is yet another form of energy with intelligence which operates through the mind and make it perceptible through the activity of the organs of the body. It is quite different from the biological or metabolic energy. The various forms of physical energy have their identifiable sources. It can be argued that the ultimate source of energy on this planet is the sun. But Wherefrom did the sun draw its energy? It can be stated that the sun owes its origin to another galaxy. The natural question would be, what is the ultimate source of this type of energy in the physical form? The great mathematician and scientific philosopher Einstein, from his generalized field theory of relativity, came to the conclusion that for all the physical energy of the universe, there must be a point source of energy outside the universe. This concept is so much akin to the concept of the ultimate source of energy with intelligence, that is, the source of the creative energy or the creator of the universe itself. It may be recalled that the concept of the creator God of the source of creative energy is also a point of light and might located outside the universe. As the Father, so the Son. In other words, all souls are also point of light and might, but differ from the Supreme Soul in the intensity of their light and might, and like him are incorporeal, indestructible, and conscient. The souls get impure or tarnished and develop a shell or cocoon of sanskars through their own actions, reactions, and interactions, birth after birth. This sanskaric shell of individual soul is characteristic of each soul and can be dissolved through the process of meditation referred here, when the soul draws its creative energy in a very subtle and effective manner during meditation. The soul gets purified and its creative faculty gets developed during this connection with the source of creative energy. The duration of this linkage with the source of creative energy and its ability to draw the creative energy depends upon the extent to which the mind of the soul concerned can remain in the self-realization of its true nature and that of the Supreme Soul, unperturbed by any other mental linkage. Next topic. Next leap forward in human evolution. The soul, which is the nucleus of the creative energy for every human being, contains the coded treasure of his destiny and plays a pivotal role in his evolution process and also determines the condition of his physical and mental health. Today, man seems to have reached the pinnacle of his biological evolution and gained ever-increasing mastery over his physical environments. Yet, in the field of humanity, his value perceiving, his wisdom conferring, his emotion integrating capability has got stunted beyond description. It may not be incorrect to say that man has developed as an intellectual giant, but on the emotional plane he has got stunted as a pygmy. In other words, there has been a disruption of human perspective at the psychological level and sudden upheaval scientific and technological developments at the intellectual level. The resultant release of enormous physical power in man's hand contains the seed of his destruction. However, one needs not get depressed with this distressing picture. All that we have to do is to shift the focus of our mental attention from mere physical and intellectual development to the improvement of creative faculty and heightening of enlightenment. This, as said earlier, is possible only through the linkage of our creative energy with that of the supreme source of creative energy. This quiet process is quite simple for one who has full understanding of the spiritual knowledge, which requires discipline at biological, psychological, sociological, and ecological level. Naturally, the number of people who will correctly be able to draw creative energy from the Supreme Source will be small. Nevertheless, this will form the nucleus for the establishment of the new world order of perfect purity, peace, and prosperity. There are thousands of people in Brahmakumari's institution in this country and different other parts of the world who are preparing themselves for this leap forward in the human evolutionary process based on high ideals of celibacy, acquisition of godly virtues, constant companionship with the Supreme Soul, and renunciation of the so-called worldly treasures without shirking in any manner their obligations and responsibilities conferred by destiny. The new world order will usher in a new heaven on earth with the mind and spirit in the highest stage of human evolution. Om Shanti.